So guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel, and I hope that my whiteboard is visible. Today, I want us to discuss about the best cars for Uber business. And as always, I want to remind you that Uber is more of a general term we are using here, but it would represent the whole taxi industry. And you know who are the players in that sector. So in this video, I want us to have a very quick analysis of which vehicles are best for you to buy and put in the taxi business. And the analysis is very, very straightforward. It is very simple. So I invite you to follow from the beginning to the end. And I hope that this video will be of use to anyone watching it. So let us begin. Normally, 99% of the vehicles that operate in Kenya belong to the lowest category. So I'm not going to focus on the Uber XL or the Uber vans. So I'm just focusing on the small vehicles. And mostly from the manufacturer perspective, you will find that the small vehicles will range from 650cc all the way to 1300cc. So if you talk of the smallest vehicles that you will find above the tuk-tuk, so we have the tuk-tuks, and then those are like the three-wheelers. But the moment you get into the four-wheelers, vehicles or cars with four wheels, you will find the 650 cc's. So that is in terms of engine size. And in that class, you will find the kind of Suzuki Alto, Daihatsu Mira, Daihatsu Move, Mazda Caro, Suzuki Wagon R, and many others, the 650 cc's. When it comes to 1000cc, you will find the Toyota Passo, the Mitsubishi Mirage, the Toyota Vitz, and the rest. When it comes to the 1200cc, you will find the Nissan March, the Nissan Note, and the Nissan Note e-Power, and the rest. When it comes to 1300cc, you will have the Demio, the Vitz, the Passo, hybrid and non-hybrid. Why I have classified them like this is because in my previous videos, I said that all these vehicles, they cost different prices, they have different power, they have different level of comfort, they have different level of driving experience. But if you put them into Uber or Bolt, they will belong to what we call the lowest class. Okay? In this class, they will get the basic pay. If you ask for a trip with your Uber chap, you can get any of these vehicles. So you as a driver or you as an investor looking forward to buy a car and put it into Uber business, what will differentiate or what will advise you on which car to pick among all those? Definitely, some people will say, I will go with the cheapest because the 650 cc's, I told you they will cost you around 750k, okay, in cash, and this one will cost you maybe around 1.3 million. So some people asked me then, if the logic is with regard to the investment amount, then everyone would go for the 750cc. But again, there are other factors that come into play, and that is what I want us to discuss. Not only focusing on the initial cost of the asset, that is the car, but also the operational cost. And that is where I want us to get into the details. So when it comes to running your car as a driver, the most recurring cost or the most important cost that is recurring is the cost of fuel. And every driver admits that fuel is the most expensive thing that drivers pay for. Forget about the commission that drivers pay to Uber and Bolt. Forget about the money that a driver pays to the car owner or to the partner. The most expensive individual cost of running Uber business is the fuel. And we need to look at all these vehicles and ask ourselves, what is the fuel efficiency of these vehicles? Because the car that consumes more fuel is the most expensive car in running this Uber business, and it is the car that you need to avoid. Okay? But again, as I mentioned, the engine cc definitely would determine fuel consumption. But also, remember, we have other aspects like the hybrid vehicles that are offering very, very good fuel efficiency, even when the cc is high. All right. So let's have a few discussions here. We are saying that on a normal day, an Uber driver will cover around 200 kilometers. So there are those who cover 150, others would cover 300 or 350. But at the end of the day, we can take an average of 200 kilometers in a day. That is like going to Thika 2 times and coming back. So you depart from Nairobi, you go to Thika and come back, and go to Thika again and come back. So normally, that's an average distance that an Uber driver would cover in a normal day. But what would be the fuel cost of that driver? Okay? And this fuel cost thing is the one that is making electric vehicles to have a good business case, even for taxi drivers, even when the price of an electric vehicle is terribly, terribly high. Right now, we are talking of the smallest electric vehicle costing around 2 million, but taxi drivers are still going for that electric vehicle because its cost of operation is very, very low. And in the long term, you'll find that actually the maths would balance. Someone buying a 650cc might actually save less compared to someone who goes for an electric vehicle costing 2 million at the end of 5 years. So also for this one, you need to look at from that perspective. So when it comes to fuel efficiency, you will find that some vehicles, from my experience and interaction with the taxi drivers, some of these vehicles you'll find here will give you an average of 10 kilometers with 1 liter. Okay, so that's how normally we measure efficiency. And when you go into the car dashboard, one of the things in the odometer you will able to read all in the dashboard is the distance that that car will travel with 1 liter of fuel. Okay, so some of these vehicles will give you 10 kilometers per liter. And I'll just dwell there for a minute and give you some more details as to what would make one car give you 10 kilometers with 1 liter, where another one will give you around 25 kilometers with 1 liter. So what we are saying is that at the end of the day, you will have two drivers. One will consume 20 liters. Okay, don't forget the 200 kilometers that all of them are covering. One driver will use 20 liters for the same distance of 200 kilometers. Another one will use only 8 liters to cover the 200 kilometers. Okay, what is the total cost of fuel? If you do 200 kilometers with a car that has an efficiency of 10 kilometers, one driver will spend 3,600 on fuel, and another one will spend 1,440 shillings on fuel for the same distance to collect the same amount of revenue from the passengers. So if you meet these two kind of drivers, I'm telling you, you'll be wondering whether you are talking to people who do the same kind of job, who wake up and operate the same apps. But the reality is that their discrepancies, their difference is brought about by the efficiency of their vehicles. So maybe just a quick explanation here as to where an ideal car should range. Okay, so we are talking of 10 kilometers per liter and another one giving you around 25 kilometers per liter. So normally I said that these vehicles that are, let's say, the year of manufacture is between, let's say, 2011 to around 2014. Okay, vehicles that have done already around 200,000 kilometers in terms of mileage, in terms of odometer reading, vehicles that have had history of engine and gearbox repair, okay, they have reduced efficiency levels. And I have seen that with my own car. There is a time I had a Suzuki Alto. It used to give an average of 22 kilometers per liter. And it had an issue with gearbox, and I had it repaired. It worked for like around 8 months. But since the time that gearbox was opened and closed again, that vehicle dropped efficiency from 22 kilometers per liter to around 17. So imagine if it had another issue with the engine or something and it was opened, you'll find that over time, efficiency of those old vehicles go down. So that's why you'll find that people with maybe KCP, KCR, KCX vehicles, if you give that vehicle to a driver, he will not accept to give you more than 1,000 shillings in a day because he knows that his cost on fuel will be very high. Let's now talk about vehicles that are doing around 25 kilometers with 1 liter. These are the kind of the Note e-Power. Okay, these are now the hybrid vehicles that like semi-electric. So if you talk about Nissan Note e-Power, I have not had an experience to drive it myself, but I have met a driver who shown me on the dashboard that his reading was 24 kilometers per liter for the last 500 kilometers he did. Okay, so I will tell you how to objectively look at the efficiency on the dashboard. You get my point? When you look at the VITs, the Honda Fit. No, sorry, here I was talking about Honda Fit. Oh, guys, I'm very sorry. So the Honda Fit, okay, if you, although there are also VITs that have like 1,300 cc, Honda Fit Hybrid has also been proven to be doing around 23 kilometers. Okay, 23 kilometers per liter. And definitely the small vehicles, especially when they are brand new. Like the 2018 models, you buy them right now, they are giving you like 22 kilometers per liter. Okay, so how then do you determine? Let me just try to rub here. Bear with me for a minute. Just want to let you know how to determine the fuel efficiency in terms of kilometers that you get per liter if you are out there and you want to buy a car. So what happens is that on the dashboard, okay, on the dashboard of your car, you will always get some readings in kilometers per liter. But my advice is this one. You must ensure that that car travels on mixed type of roads. So at least don't reset the mileage or the distance before 500 kilometers. So make sure that that car has done at least 500 kilometers. On this, it should be combined town driving or what we call traffic situation. Okay. Also, let it have an experience on highway. Okay. So this is non-traffic, because it will give it its optimum, efficiency readings. And then you have what we call rough road. Okay. So a combination of this one. And I would say, ask for a driver who has driven his car for, let's say, a week without resetting the distance, without resetting the efficiency readings, so that you can get the actual average. But some people will reset the vehicle from Nairobi town CBD. They drive on Thika Superhighway all the way to Thika town without any presence of traffic at an average speed of 100 kilometers per liter. That car will give you its optimum readings. It will give you even 30 kilometers per liter. But wait until that vehicle gets stuck somewhere in traffic. Wait until that vehicle travels on a rough road or a maram road, where it is going at an average speed of maybe 5 kilometers per hour. Then it will shock you that this average could go down actually even to 10 kilometers per liter. So what I advise you is that, I don't know, for your road test, of course, you will not be allowed to do 500 kilometers. But if you are just doing your own research, interact with the drivers, ask them to show you their dashboard readings and just see what distance have they done cumulatively over 500 kilometers that they have done previously. And then that one will give you the average performance of that car on mixed terrains. Okay, guys, I hope that gives you an idea. And then you decide which one to take. But I always say, if a car can give you between 16 to 20 kilometers per liter, I think that's a perfect vehicle. Okay? Cheers and goodbye.